All right, folks. Well, it's I think we're keeping it in the Arctic today because my guest here on Do You Know Jack radio show is Sami from Ensiferum, all the way over in Finland, while I sit here in the comfort of my living room in the Northwest Territories in Canada. Sami, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing just fine.
Is it Finland that sort of has more metalheads per capita than anywhere else in Scandinavia, or is that Denmark or Norway or Sweden? I'm trying to remember now.
I think there was some kind of map of the world, and I think it was most metal bands per
Right,
capital.
right, right. But that was Finland, though. Am I correct?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So how does a band like Ensiferum? I mean, you guys have been around for so long now. What's the secret to longevity in a perhaps crowded scene out there?
Uh, well, I have to say that nobody really likes us in Finland. That's why we're always touring abroad. And that's why it's amazing that on when the new album is gonna be released, we're gonna do actually I think it's 10 shows in Finland. We've never done that many shows in Finland for one album. So anyway, about the long career, I think it's just you have to have a right people around you, the band itself, and everybody has to love what you're doing because
Yeah.
and especially if you're a touring band, you really have to enjoy each other's company, and you really have to love what you're doing because you're spending like half of the year on the road. So the shows and the creating process of writing music, it has to be that important for you that it makes up all the kind of the traveling
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
waiting that's that this work kind of demands you to do. Like we this summer we played a show in Montebello in Canada,
Right. Yeah.
and yeah, and we played 45 minutes, but we traveled like 30 hours to play 45 minutes. But it was definitely worth it because it was amazing festival, incredible crowd, and one of the best things was it wasn't like a metal festival. So I would say like 75% of the people who came to see our show have absolutely no idea who we were and didn't know the lyrics. But still, in the end of the show, you had like all the people all the way in the back had their hands in the air, and that's like one of the greatest feelings you could have.
Well, now I learned something really interesting about you guys just, as I was preparing for this interview, and that's that you guys are sort of a band that's constantly working on new material. And a matter of fact, on the new record, Two Paths, that comes
Mhm.
out on Metal Blade September 15th, there's songs as old as 7 years on this thing.
Yeah, that's when the process started. Yeah, there's a song called "I Will Never Kneel." I think it
Hmm.
was 7 years ago when the first. Well, it was probably just. I think it was just like two melodies of that song. It wasn't like a song, but anyway, parts of that song were written then, and we returned to that song every now and then, but it never proceeded. But during this cycle, after
Hmm.
One Man Army was released, yeah, we finally got that song ready, and that's how we work. It might literally take years to finish the song. Oh, actually, on this album, there's a song called "King of Storms,"
Uh huh.
which I remember that the chorus melody it just came out of the blue, sitting in a backstage room in one festival last summer, so 2016, and now it's on the album already. So that took like maybe like eight months or something like that
Hmm.
from the beginning until it was recorded. So sometimes things happen. So that's really fast for us. It's usually a couple of years.
Well,
That would be like quite standard for us.
I would imagine though that some of the arrangements and where everybody's going to fit within the whole band. I mean, I would imagine that's a process that requires that sort of attention to detail that you're talking.
Yeah, that's the thing because the way we compose, it's really slow. We bring ideas to rehearsal room. Everybody can bring ideas, and then we twist and turn and arrange everything together as a band. So there is no, even though Markus is the founder of the band and kind of heart and soul of the band, but
Hmm.
there is no dictator in the band. It's actually total opposite. We have democracy in the band. that and and also every idea has to be tried, no matter how crazy or stupid it might feel. And of course, the goal is that everybody is satisfied with every note of every song.
Yeah.
And there's also a lot of talking, debating and analyzing involved in the composing process. Sometimes the rehearsals might be like 50-50, playing and analyzing.
That's interesting.
And it takes a lot of time to compose this way, but it's also extremely rewarding when you create something out of nothing and you create something together as a band. It it also really boosts, well, not boost, but we have really strong, really good spirit inside the band, and I'm sure this is one of the reasons why, because
Yeah.
everybody is involved and everybody's opinion is valuable.
For sure. Well, now I know you mentioned Marcus, and I think he's the person that writes a lot of the orchestrations and whatnot, from what I understand, right?
Uh, I would still say he's like the main composer,
Mm-hmm.
but I think he brings maybe like 50% of this of the raw ideas. But in the end, it's like I told, we arrange and compose together as a band.
For sure.
So it's Ensiferum is not a band where somebody comes to rehearsal room and tells, this, I have this song and you're gonna play this and you're gonna play that and that's it. We are a total opposite for that. And
Now I
yeah,
know, like, for instance, like I've heard you're a pretty improvisatory style bass player. Especially when you do live performances, and you've brought in world champion digital accordion player Netta Skog, and you've
yeah.
got Marcus in there with some of the arrangements. So I mean, when it comes to these debates and these discussions, I mean, like, are we looking at a lot of people in this group that are sort of, quote unquote, formally trained, or?
Yes, some of us have like a understanding. Well, everybody has obviously understanding about theory of music,
Mm-hmm.
but some have really went to school for that also. But in a way, if you have something to express through music, then the theory is just a tool, and it kind of expands your mind. You'll understand stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's something. I think it's. I always tell kids to yes, please study because it will expand your mind. But don't. It's not like it's. You shouldn't think it as a. I hate to say this, but like a Bible. It's not word of God. The theory. You should try to break it, because I have friends who went to school, like musical school, since they were kids, and when they were adults, they said they have really hard time to let it go, to really just to improvise and just go with the flow, because they've been so trained to read the notes all the time and overanalyze stuff while they
Mm-hmm.
play. So it might be like double-edged sword.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking too. Like, now on this new album, you guys have done the majority. You've recorded the majority of the tracks analogs. So I mean, there's, when you're going, tape to tape or whatever,
Hmm.
there's bound to be mistakes here and there, and sometimes with formal training, there's this sort of, you're sort of striving for perfection. But I think, that's oftentimes paired with the flip side of that sword, where the mistakes are sort of what makes the music human to begin with.
You're exactly at the at the point of which makes this album different from everything else we ever done, and that was the cornerstone for this album. Well, we kind of started on One Man Army, but we wanted to continue to search for the quest for the album that sounds like a really tight live album. And on this album, yeah, we recorded all drums, bass, rhythm guitars, and harsh vocals on tape. And while we recorded drums, the whole band was playing at the same time. And there are at least 3 songs on the album where the bass lines are from the same take as the drums. So really old school drum and bass are recorded at the same time. That's what you get here on the album.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but the biggest difference, yeah, sorry, I was going into this, is that there's a we had a like little bit different, well, actually, really dramatically different angle where we viewed the music, and it was Anssi Kippo who recorded and produced also this album that kind of started that on this album we will not focus on the technical perfection. We want every take, every song, every track on this album has to have emotion in it. There has to be feeling, there has to be groove, and he always used Nirvana as a reference. That if Kurt Cobain's vocals would have been edited from 1,000 different takes and auto-tuned and whatever, it wouldn't be the same. So, you know, I
Yeah,
really like
yeah.
this attitude. Like you explained, if you just think about that you play or sing everything perfectly, technically wise, you might lack a lot of emotion.
Yeah, a lot of people like Nirvana's Bleach record because there's absolutely no pretense to it. I mean, what you hear is exactly what you'll get if they were to play those
Exactly.
songs live. And I find even with Nevermind, even though there's a syrupy production and he does overdub vocals to a certain extent, it's not like hundreds, mind you, but I mean, even there, you can tell that if the band were to go and play Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I mentioned that only because that's the most well-known song, they would be able to
Yeah.
replicate it exactly, performance-wise, the way you're hearing it.
Exactly, and it's still even on the album, it's really well, you believe what Kurt was singing in that one because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you can get much more adrenaline during the live show, but to really capture that in a studio is really a miracle.
Yeah.
And well, anyway, that was the thing we were chasing on two paths, and I'm really proud of. There were moments where guys were recording guitars, for example, that they play the whole song from the beginning until end, and Ansi turns them. Yeah, that was like flawless, like no mistakes anywhere. But can you do that again and have some soul in it? Just don't think about it. Just imagine yourself on a big stage of the biggest festival in the world, and just let the music flow. And I really like this kind of mentality
Now,
when you
this was
record.
the second time you've worked with Ansi, right? Or because you
Yeah,
work with him on One Man Army, so I would imagine, just looking at you can check out his studio rig online and so on and so forth. But I would imagine there was a relative, comfort level this time around that maybe you didn't have the first time.
yeah, that's true because on One Man Army, of course, we did some pre-production with him, and we went to his studio and record demos.
Mm-hmm.
But still, the whole that was One Man Army was still the first actual session we did with him. But after that, he's a really dear friend to every one of us nowadays, and it was so easy to go there again, and especially because everything clicked in a good way. I mean, the when he said, "How about if we would use like the analog recording?" We were like, "Of course," because that's the way we recorded stuff when we were young, and we knew that it will sound much more better and the dynamics will be better.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came up with this idea about the technical perfection versus emotionally superior takes, and we like that also, and I really love the result.
Mm-hmm. Well, all this being said, like I think he was really painstaking in the process to find exactly the right sounds. Even before you went into record. So there's that analog way of doing things, but there's also the just working on the sounds and the tones.
Yeah, I'm sure he already had some kind of idea, and that's one things I really love about working with Anssi, that he rather uses time in the beginning of the session that we will search for the exact sound that we like, and he records that. So there's never this
fix it in the
feeling that
mix
okay, yeah,
kind of
exactly.
mentality.
No, 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 no. When you're recording stuff on top of, the layers are coming there, and you're actually listening to the final album, the version of the album. Of course, you might add some reverb and some compression later on, but overall the sound is really close to the final product already. So that's really nice in studio.
Now you have, I believe, as of 2016. I mean, I mentioned this already, but you've added Netta as a permanent fixture to the Ensiferum lineup now. So I mean, apart from you know allegedly, well, I mean, I watched her video, so I mean, the gal can really shred the accordion. But I mean, apart from the shredding, what does she bring to the table? Maybe composing wise, or I've seen things where she's done some lead vocal work for you guys and so on and so forth. I mean, what does she bring to the table, Sammy?
Well, of course, she is a equal member with everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she has a little bit different kind of musical background, so she really brought some fresh ideas, the composing process, and I really like that. And I told her when she became a permanent member, because we were already obviously working with the new songs, that when you come to rehearsal room, always say your opinion and please bring your own ideas and don't be intimidated by us, because the four guys, we've been together since 2004,
Mm-hmm.
2005. So we know each other and we talk quite straightforward, and we understand each other quite well and we trust each other, everybody's vision. So I told her, just say your opinions and don't be offended if somebody criticizes or debates about some of your idea, because it's not personal. It's just everybody wants to create as good music as possible. And of course, when you're creating something and you created something from your heart, of course, it's there's a chance that you get like really emotionally attached to your own ideas. But that's also part of growing up as a musician, that you create something together. You just bring the first idea and then you start from there together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, and that's why I really love what Netta brought to the band, because she's a virtuoso with her instrument, and she's really good. She has a talent of improvisation, and that's something I really like, because that's the way I play live. I never play two shows in the same way, never. Uh, I have absolutely no idea why, actually, but most of the time what I'm doing there, and and that's what I really love about Netta. That you might have an idea. Okay, this song we're we're now at this point and we know how the song would end, but we're missing something in between. And yeah, I have this idea that it might be something like this, and it might be in these chords and maybe this kind of rhythm in the melody, and you just have like a vague idea, and then she kind of gets your vision and improvise something in that direction, and it might be perfect. And that's something that she really brought to the composing process, some of the improvisation, and I really like it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, now where do you fit in in terms of being a member of Ensiferum? I guess same question for you, Sammy.
uh, well, for some weird reason, I've I'm the main lyric writer. I've been that for quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I always said it to others that please bring your lyrics and ideas, and let's write lyrics together or something. But uh, I don't know. For some reason, they seem to be happy what I do, and yeah, I really don't mind, because I really like writing lyrics. Uh, well, I also bring ideas to rehearsal room. It's really democratic band. Everybody can bring their ideas, and that everybody's equal in the band.
Now has that literally taken close to 20 years to finally get to that point? I mean, when was the point for you personally where you sat back and you thought, geez, this lineup is really working? Because I know the band has changed members. I don't want to say several times, but enough that it's noticeable.
Yeah, well, that was the first two albums. Then it was totally different. Then the band wasn't touring, for example. It was just young guys creating music,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that there's a leap of faith if you really want to, if you're ready to give 110% for the band and sacrifice a lot for the touring. And there's nothing wrong if you don't want to do that. But Marcus, of course, Ensiferum is his child, and he has a lot of ambition, and it was the right thing to do, to tell all the ex-members that you're either in or you're out,
Mm-hmm.
because he wanted to go forward with the band.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to emphasize that we're really good friends with all the ex-members. There's no bad blood.
Mm-hmm.
Like the ex-bass player, he's one of my best friends.
Perfect, man. Well, listen, I really appreciate you just taking some time here to
It
talk
was a
about your
pleasure.
new album, Two Paths, out on Metal Blade Records, September 15th. And by all means, too, check out some of the websites of the band members. I know Netta, for instance, has a very cool website, and Ansi has a website for his studio. It's interesting work that these folks are doing, and it's much appreciated on this end, Sammy. I like I said, I really appreciate it, and I'm honored to have been able to speak with you today, man.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.